Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode, episode number 163 today for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys didn't miss the previous one, the Singapore Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Quite an intense race actually at Singapore. By Singapore standards, it was actually a very action-packed intense race, especially towards the end with Fernando Alonso there. But following that one, we come here again, still feeling pretty good actually in the championship, you know, able to build the gap to Alonso, whilst Alonso falls away a little bit with Renault. Red Bull Honda becoming strong, and they're the real threat now, it looks like, especially for the Constructors title. They've really come on, and for us as a team, we also might just be feeling under threat from a lot more teams now. You can see Renault is still up there, Red Bull, but also Mercedes now have closed up the gap on paper at least. We'll see if Verstappen and Hülkenberg, the two Dutch and German guys, can get in the mix as well, make it a bit of a, I don't know, very kind of cramped 8-way fight in a way for the top spots in the points-paying positions for the rest of this season. That will be a bit of a spanner of the works in terms of, you know, if I'm fighting for points along with, you know, the likes of Alonso and the two Red Bulls for the Drivers' Championship, if you've got the Mercs then also in there, just kind of to make up the numbers in the way and kind of, you know, stopping us from getting crucial points, it is going to be very intriguing to see how it all ends for the championship. But we move into qualifying then, and you can see that we already got held up a little bit by Gasly, who was in my way, but that was nothing compared to Romain Grosjean here. An absolute bus here in my way. I don't know, he's not on a hot lap because he's not going very quickly. I have to overtake him down the inside. He's already lost me about 2 seconds there. I don't know what on earth Romain was doing. I'm on a flying lap, of course, my first flying lap of the session, and like I said, it didn't look like he was on one. I mean, yeah, so we lose a lot of time there. We're P10, not the best way to start the weekend, and so I'm going to have to wait till the end of the session to do a second flying lap then and try and do a lot better. You can see on the top right, we're about to gain a heap of time because this is exactly the part where we lost all the time pretty much. I didn't lose too much time in sectors 1 and 2. I found a little bit more on that second flying lap, but really all the time was gained at the end there. And I was pretty damn happy because we came across the line on provisional pole position there. There was only about 20 seconds left to go in the session, and then suddenly, obviously, in classic F1 2018 game fashion, forecast went faster, and so we're down to P5 then. Pierre Gasly is the one on pole position, the reigning world champion from last season. Verstappen, though, second place. You can see Hülkenberg P4, so the Mercs really have turned up this race. They've actually beaten out the Renaults, who are both behind me, Alonso and Hamilton there, and Leclerc has had an absolute mare, so I don't know what on earth's gone wrong there. I don't know if he has any issues with the car, or, you know, maybe the car's just not performing too well around Russia. Maybe I just did a stand-up job of dragging the car up or something like that. I'm not too sure at this stage, but we're just going to have to see how it goes, really. Leclerc was looking mighty at Singapore. Obviously, he beat me fair and square, you know, after we made a bit of a blunder with the kind of strategy as well. So there's not much strategy involved here at Russia, so I can't imagine we can kind of muck that up too much there. But still, a little bit baffling. So let's just go into the grid, see if there's any penalties to talk about, and then we'll get into this race.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. It's time to go racing then at the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6 mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about McLaren. They've had 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
And so with that, let's have a look at the starting grid ahead of this Russian Grand Prix for Season 8 of my F1 2018 Career Mode. On pole position, then it's going to be the reigning world champion Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull Honda, and it's actually going to be a front row lockout for Red Bull, with Carlos Sainz in second place, Hülkenberg third, and myself in P4 with Verstappen with a grid penalty down to 7th place just behind the 2 Renaults. Sergei Sorokin in 8th place, then with Van Dorn in P9, Vettel in P10, Ricciardo P11 and Hartley P12, then Romain Grosjean and Sergio Perez. Leclerc all the way down in 15th place with the grid penalty for engine component changes, then Bottas, Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon and Kimi Raikkonen ran at the grid for the Russian Grand Prix here in Sochi. Right, so here we are on the second row of the grid, surprisingly, in P4, thanks to Verstappen having a grip penalty, but my teammate also had one, Leclerc, and so what I think happened is Leclerc had a worn engine for qualifying, and he's only now changing components into the race, giving him a penalty, so I think that's why he was maybe so down in terms of lap time compared to myself in that qualifying session. At least that's what I think it looks like's happened. So we're on the second row now because Verstappen's also changed components, and with that we've got a clean view of both Red Bull Hondas on the front row, but of course they've been so strong in the last few episodes that I really can't guarantee we're going to be able to fight them really today, but we'll try our best as always as we go to 5 red lights to the Russian Grand Prix here. The lights are out, we're on the way. It's a good getaway from us initially. Carlos Sainz with a bit of a slow start into turn 1 though. Fernando Alonso is going to come up on the left hand side like an absolute Renault rocket ship out of nowhere. He's come. Look at the speed he's got. Otto Hamilton as well on my inside. Then to turn 2, double lock up. We have to take avoiding action. Hulkenberg's gone wide and he's forced us to slow down, and we've lost a heap of time. We're behind Leclerc, who is down outside the top 10 now. We're in P11. It's been an absolute disaster start to the race. I don't know what on earth Hulkenberg was doing there, but he pretty much was a blockade wall for me going anywhere. It would have been too bad as we look at a replay here and just watch, because a lot of things kicked off there. You had the 2 Red Bulls side by side into turn 2. You've got Alonso trying to go down the inside as well as Hamilton there, and it's a lock up from me, but it's actually Alonso who takes Hulkenberg wide. But then, yeah, just there on the exit, Hulkenberg just slowed down and hesitated on the throttle, and that just stopped me from going anywhere. I would have been fine and would have still been maybe P5, P6, but no, instead I was blocked off, had to lift off to not hit the back of the Mercedes car, and instead lost 5 more positions down to P11, and now I'm behind Leclerc, who is now running P10. So both us Alfa Romeo cars going from what was a really good, 3-4 last episode to now 10-11. It's not looking too great, and now I'm going to have to try and attack Leclerc, who's going slow himself. So I don't know, does Leclerc still have issues with the car, or is our car maybe an issue? I don't know, is our car broken for some reason now? Because it was a bit of a slow getaway. The way Alonso just shot past us was a little bit fishy for me, and then now Leclerc is actually struggling to get past some cars. I'm attacking him in P10. I really hope this is not the case and our car can speed up and kind of dial into this race as we go through the laps. On lap number 3, here we go now on towards the back straight, trying to catch up to Sebastian Vettel, the man who was in stone dead last at the Singapore Grand Prix, is ahead of us now. So if we can't get past him, then something really is wrong. So here we go. Leclerc makes a move on the outside to the inside for that right hand there. He's going to do a good job of squeezing Vettel out maybe, so we lock up a little bit, but we're trying to stick with Vettel as much as he can. Ooh, bit of a twitchy tail there for Vettel, and so we send one to the inside. Thank you very much, Leclerc, because I think there was a little bit of contact, actually, I think, between our teammate and Vettel there, so that unsettled the German's car a little bit. Had a bit of a fishtail, so we were able to send it very easily to the inside. But meanwhile, Gasly sets a fast lap of the Grand Prix, looking very strong as always. Obviously, the Red Bull Hondas now have had how many races in a row? I think they've had I think 5 races. I think they've won 5 races in a row now. So they're very much at the moment are the big driving force to be reckoned with here in this season. As now you can see Leclerc in the distance is going to try and go around the outside of turn 2 on the Toro Rosso, but no, he locks up. We have to lock up to narrowly miss the back end of Van Dorn, and Van Dorn does a great job at defending from Leclerc. And now look at that, Vettel comes around the outside. Something is up with our car at the moment. We do not have a lot of pace here. Leclerc can't overtake a Toro Rosso. I'm being attacked by a Ferrari who was in last place last race. Something is up at the moment in this race, but meanwhile Gasly goes away in first place uninterrupted there. Carlos Sainz second, then you've got the 2 Renault, so a bit of a 2x2 situation, and then behind them you've got the actually home favourite behind the 2 Renaults is Sergei Sorokin, the Russian. He is doing a fantastic job in 5th place in that Toro Rosso car, just ahead of the 2 Mercedes. But whilst I talk about that, you can see there Hamilton in 3rd place has a little bit of a sniff on Carlos Sainz for 3rd place there, and there is Sorokin doing a great job defending and parking the absolute bus in the stadium to try and get and keep that 5th place. Obviously, if he was to finish in 5th here at his home Grand Prix, that would be quite something for the man in the Toro Rosso, ahead of the 2 Mercs of Hulkenberg and Verstappen. But meanwhile, we go back to our POV and our fight with Leclerc and Van Dorn. Lap number 5 into turn 2. This time Leclerc gets the job done, and he couldn't do it last time, but now he does. Van Dorn slots in behind, maybe hasn't looked into turn 4. Let's see, it's very off camber, obviously very easy to make a mistake. No, Van Dorn just sticks behind him all the while we're closing up there, finding the momentum. Now Van Dorn goes a little bit defensive actually, so now can we try and play this to our strategy? Pull on the left hand side, go tight on the apex to the right, and look at that nice switch back there on the racing line. We're on the inside line now, we'll go deep in, a little bit awkward there as we just about go a little bit too quickly into the corner, but just about managed to control the car and keep it on the track, and our engineer congratulates us on a good overtake, and now we can try and chase after Leclerc. Meanwhile now, one lap later, Hamilton closing up on Carlos Sainz, and could this be it? I think it is, down the inside of turn 3. It's a fantastic little move for Hamilton, and he's up into second place. It's a checkerboard now. Red Bull, Renault, but it's kind of the wrong Renault really, because Alonso's down in P4 there, the man fighting me in the championship in second place in the standings. Meanwhile then, the Toro Rosso Sorokin still tries to do his best at keeping the Mercedes at bay, and that might just play into the hands of myself and Leclerc, who now got a bit of clean air to try and close up to that fight. And so we'll try and see what we can do in the next stages before our pit stop. And as we move on to lap 7, we've got DRS on Leclerc, so we might be able to even overtake our teammate. So finally dialing back into this Grand Prix a little bit and feeling a bit more confident. We're going to try and have a little look to the inside, but ultimately just don't feel like I have enough speed to shoot onto the inside there. Probably would have overshot the corner and locked up and spin into the wall if I kept my foot in on that one. So we just look to keep behind as close as we can. You can see just up ahead as well is that train, the two Mercs and Toro Rosso. You can clearly see it on the minimap there as they go through the second last corner, and then through the last corner at the moment is the Renault fight with the Red Bull Honda. So eventually, if we keep in this group, I think it might be useful to pit in earlier, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to pit in on this lap, lap 8 then, one lap later, and try and get an undercut on these guys, because it's worked really well in the past around Russia. The undercut is quite powerful here, going on to the ultra soft tyre, so that's exactly what we'll do, whereas Leclerc continues on trying to chase after those two Mercs and the Toro Rosso of Sorokin. So we're in then, pretty empty pit lane, just me it looks like pitting in this early, so this is a bit of an aggressive strategy, but I think it will work out in terms of the undercut. And so here we go into the pit box, and as we go in, this safety car has been deployed, and it's a full safety car, and so we have just maybe lucked in massively here, because usually if you pit under the safety car, it's a free pit stop, and that's usually just taking into account that you're already on track somewhere and you're having to come in for the pit stop. But I was already mid pit stop when that silver safety car came out then. So that might just be the luck of the season, the luckiest moment of the season here, because if we go around the track then, we're P13, but now everyone has had to go around on this slower delta time, including me, but of course I was already in the pits making my pit stop. So we come down now, we're going to bump up to overtake mode because we have to just catch the safety car line. There's no delta time anymore, just catch the safety car, and so we just go as fast as we can and have to slot in behind whoever it is, and who it is Lewis Hamilton, the man who was fighting for P3. He is P3 right now in this train, and we moved up into P4, so we've gained I think 4 or 5 positions there, overtaken both Mercs, the Toro Rosso, my teammate, and Fernando Alonso there, as we're now P4 behind Lewis Hamilton. Second place is a McLaren of Hartley, so he's out of sync, so we'll eventually be up into P3 because Pierre Gasly is the one that leads the way. So that is an immense bit of luck there, probably the luckiest I've ever got in the F1 2018 career mode so far in all 8 seasons. The safety car comes out as soon as I'm about to enter my pit box for a pit stop. So here we go now. We've gone green on the restart on lap 11, and we're in P4, and we're going to end this Grand Prix. So that is where we are now. So let's try and see if we can try and push on and attack Hamilton, who has strangely opted for the soft tyre, the hardest compound available. For some reason, he doesn't think he could do a one-stop on Ultras, which is very, very odd. And so now we wait patiently to try and overtake Brendan Hartley, who won't be an issue for us in the McLaren car. Very much a midfield to bottom tier car here at the moment in Season 8. So down the inside we go of Turn 3. And now we chase after Hamilton, like I said, who is on a harder compound tyre. And it's showing, because he's not getting away too quickly here, like I expected the Renault to do. I'm actually closing up massively in the brake zone here. So I don't know if Hamilton has some sort of issue as well, along with his slower tyres, but we're closing up rapidly here. And he's going defensive every single corner, going very, very odd. And so we're going to wait a little bit, brake early, cut in early on the left-hand side, and send one to the inside. And that was narrowly making a big amount of contact there with Hamilton as he swayed across and almost like looked like he was losing control of the car in a way. And so up into P2 now, Gasly P1. And so this has just turned from a bit of a mediocre race for us in terms of results. You know, we're P11 at one point, moved up into P7, P6, and now we're in P2. Absolutely amazing. So as we go through then this Grand Prix, Hamilton is struggling on those tyres. And I want to say for his sake, maybe he has a car issue because he's down to P4 now as Carlos Sainz comes back through and makes a comeback in this Grand Prix. He's up into P3 now. Leclerc chases after both of them in P5. Behind Leclerc is then this fight between Hülkenberg and the Toro Toro Rosso of Sorokin. I think Hockenheim getting the better of the Russian, but there is Leclerc chasing after in P5. So he's also gained in that safety car period, actually. He jumped both Mercedes cars and got ahead of the Toro Rosso, and he's now going to go and overtake with ease Hamilton, and he's up into P4. So it was 10-11 at one point in this race. It's now 2-4 for Alfa Romeo. Absolutely great stuff there. It's now checkerboard of Red Bull and Alfa Romeo as we move on to lap 20. Then 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and wow, look at that. Leclerc with a purple lap time. He is definitely dialed in. So whatever issues he had in qualifying at the start of this race is now completely gone away, because he's now the man on fire at the moment in this race. Down the inside he goes to turn 2 to overtake the Spaniard in the Red Bull. Will Carlos Sainz have anything to answer? He's going to keep his foot in on the inside, but no, actually, midway through, Leclerc just says nope and steps across and cuts him off, and he's up into P3. Leclerc really is a man on a mission, and you know what? He might just chase after me as well as we move on to lap 22. 2 laps later, and he's already right on the back of me there. I'm pushing as hard as I can, trying to save some ERS for later on this lap to use overtake mode down this main straight, not to derate at the end of the lap, but it might not be any use. We don't have DRS, obviously, no one ahead of us. Leclerc will have DRS, ERS, the fuel mixture. Here he goes on the left-hand side there, and he's going to waltz past me there. We can't even have a go to dive on down the inside because there's just not enough momentum in room to really go down one. Would have been a bit of contact if I tried to try and attempt a defensive move to the inside there. So Leclerc just goes past me. To be fair, also kind of learned my lesson from Italy from previously. You know, it's the Italian Grand Prix earlier on this season. We could have got a 1-2. I fought Leclerc too much. I just thought, you know what, we're ahead of Alonso, who is the man in second place in the championship. So just like last race, even if I finish behind a Red Bull car, I'll still gain points in the championship basically, because Alonso is behind me and the Red Bull car still got a lot to catch up. So I may as well just, take it a bit more cautiously and use Leclerc like I am right now as a literal tow here and close up in turn 2, but gets us away from Carlos Sainz. And if we can overtake Leclerc at the end of the race, then that's going to be even better for us in terms of more points at the end of this thing. 3 more points to be exact for us from 3rd to 2nd place. But for now, just concentrating on trying to make sure we keep this double podium here. But as we move on through the last few stages of this race, last 3 laps, lap 25 here, Grosjean, I think that is it actually Grosjean is going to be the man holding up Leclerc? That is absolutely amazing. Grosjean holds me up in qualifying, and he does the exact same thing to both of us here in the same exact place. Sector 3, Grosjean, get a grip of yourself. I don't know what you're doing this weekend, but I've had enough of you. So Leclerc gets held up massively. That helps me up, though, to be fair, actually, so I shouldn't complain too much. He's done me a favour, Grosjean has, as we close up quite a fair bit as we move on to the second last lap of the Grand Prix. DRS activated again, and so we're still well within 1 second there. And you can see on the minimap, Carlos Sainz has fallen away from us there, so we are comfortably in P3. And so now I'm just trying to see if we have any kind of chance of closing up to Leclerc to overtake him on the last 2 laps as we move on then to the back straight. DRS open to close up again, but just obviously you can see visually just not anywhere near enough to make a diving move. So this might have to be a last lap overtake if we even get close enough. We close up quite a fair bit nose to tail here through sector 3. So just going to have to try and keep this up as we move on to the same place, the back straight on the last lap of the Grand Prix now. And you can see up ahead there is another blue flag car here. So could that be the difference? We're not close enough to make a diving move to the inside after the back straight, but as we go under the tunnel, it's going to be another Haas, I think. Yes, I think it's Magnussen. So the Haas cars are really the stars of the show today with obstacle.com for them. But as we come through now, we're literally pushing Leclerc through that corner now as he really gets held up by Magnussen. He's slowing up, he's defended the position, he's gone even slower, and we're literally touching him as we go through the last corner. What a finish. In the end, we can't get him, but to be fair, still a really fun ending, and it's a 2-3, a solid position for Alfa Romeo Racing, considering we were in 10-11 at one point in this race.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top drawer to take the win for Red Bull today. So, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So Gasly wins the Grand Prix, so it's another win for a Red Bull Honda. They really are on a massive hot streak here in this second part of the season. But like I said, 2-3 for us. Alonso is way down the order, actually. He had a horrible race compared to even his teammate Hamilton there, down in P7. So he's falling off the wagon. And so in the Drivers' Championship, it is now, looky, once again, Gasly in second place. And once again, it's me and Gasly in 1 and 2 in a championship fight here. But you can see we've gained points on him effectively because, the gap was a lot lot smaller to Alonso, but we've now grown the gap, even though Gasly technically closed up on us, because, you know, and now only now is he overtaken to get to second place. So psychologically, it was a positive weekend for us in terms of the championship lead. In the constructors, though, Red Bull maintain that lead, so we'll have to fight a little bit harder in the next few rounds. We want to try and get the title for Alfa Romeo Racing here in the constructors, but the drivers for now is looking quite comfortable. We've only got a finite amount of rounds to go, and the consistency has been really good for us, you know, consistently bagging these podiums, bagging the 4th place minimum at least, and so we just need to keep this up, and, you know, we'll be golden basically. But the constructors is going to be a little harder, and that's definitely still something I want to aim for the team. I think we have the pace. Leclerc definitely has glimpses of, you know, being right up there to help me out as well, so just got to, you know, dig that a little bit deeper and try and get that pace in. But guys, if you did enjoy this episode, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava, home shows today, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.